where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam complains to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about how the Qawm has left out the Quran. One of the points that I missed yesterday was that another way, a method of leaving out the Quran is leaving out the da'wah of the Quran. We covered leaving out the understanding, the tilawah, the recitation, the acting upon the Quran, iman upon the Quran, and one more point is the da'wah of the Quran, calling people towards the Quran. And especially the youngsters who are at college, who are going to universities, they are the prime example where they have the greatest chance of calling people towards the Quran through their actions, through their akhlaq, through their attributes. They are the best way of calling the youngsters of today towards the Quran. So this is also a very important part, is to also call people towards the Quran, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. Today, inshallah, just one ayah, very brief, but it shows how powerful the Quran can be when we hear properly, when we listen to the Quran properly. And this is the same Quran where Umar radiallahu anhu is going to commit one of the, a great sin. He wants to, na'udhu billah, kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He hears Taha and he accepts Islam. So when we see the Quran has such a powerful force to change a person's life, it's not that the Quran has changed, it's that we have changed and we do not accept the hidayah, the power of the Quran. There's one ayah in Surah Hadid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. The ayah, the translation is, has the time not come, not for the disbelievers, for the believers. Has the time not come for the believers that their hearts become humble to the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning the Quran, and whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed from the haqq. There was a man by the name of Fudayl bin Iyadh. This person, he was a criminal. He was a highway robber. And he was known throughout the lands. His name was so notorious that people knew him to be an extremely skillful criminal. And the valleys where he would reside in, people would not travel through those valleys at night because they were scared of this individual. This person, he would pillage, he would, rob, he would kill, he would murder. He was infatuated with a woman, and one night he's going after this woman, he's climbing a wall, and he hears someone reciting this ayah, that has the time not come for the believers that their hearts humble to the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they bring khushu into their life and become humiliated in front of the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and actually accept it. And the moment he heard this ayah, it struck him. And he stopped and he sat down in a corner and he started thinking about his life. And he started thinking, what is he doing with his life? In that moment, there were a few travelers going through and they said, we have to go quickly. Fudayl bin Iyadh, we heard that he's in this area. If he comes, we're going to be harmed. So he's there sitting and he sees that his name is so notorious and he's associated with such crimes. He says, this is it. And that's when he makes his tawbah. And that's when he changes his life. Who is he now? His name is in Bukhari. He's a narrator of Bukhari and Muslim. To be a narrator of Bukhari and Muslim, you have to be from the top, not only a scholar, but the greatest of scholars. You have to be a thiqah. You have to be extremely trustworthy. He changes his life completely around. He becomes a scholar. He starts learning. He starts educating himself. He starts traveling the lands. His students consist of great names that we usually hear. Sufyan bin Uyayna, Sufyan al-Thawri, Abdullah ibn Mubarak. Different great ulama have come from his hands. That he has created such ulama. And who was he at one time? A person who was known for his crimes. See, the Quran can impact a person so powerfully that they change their entire life around. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran again and again says, فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارُ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. It's not that the eyes have become blind, but it's the hearts which are in the chest that become blind. It's not that, the Quran doesn't have the power within it to change a person. It's that we have become so hard in our hearts and we have become so deaf in our ears that we prevent ourselves from receiving the guidance from the Quran. And we prevent ourselves from building a connection with the Quran. As we come into the last Ashra of Ramadan, and of course we have a lot of youngsters here, and as mentioned in the talk last night, that one purpose that we can take out from this month of Ramadan, and which is primarily the purpose of Ramadan, is our connection with the Quran must be strong. Our connection with the Quran should not be a chore, a burden, that we recite it sometimes, we recite it in our salah, we only memorize those few short surahs. When Ramadan comes around, we pick up our Quran, but actually understand what the Quran is saying. Last night, Shaykh Ibrahim, he said, 2/3 of the Quran are stories of the prophets, the stories of the previous nations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is having a conversation with the ummah. How unfortunate are we that we ourselves do not want to build a connection with the Quran. So it's very important in this month of Ramadan, our primary focus should be, of course, our fasting and taqwa, but how much more the strength of our connection becomes with the Quran. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He allows us to act upon the Quran, He allows us to propagate the Quran, He allows us to understand the Quran and becomes people from Ahlul Quran. سبحان الله بحمده سبحانك اللهم بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفر ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.